All right, so I'm going to quickly talk about the incisors for you guys. I have my PowerPoint just like you have, and I have a large model. This is actually a mandibular lateral incisor. Most of the anatomy that I can point out on this tooth is going to be present on all incisors, maxillary and mandibular. First thing we can say, we have the crown, we have the single root. The crown is made up of 3 developmental lobes. 3 on the facial, 1 that makes up the lingual side. When the 3 on the facial come together, oftentimes we have little bumps on the edges. Those are called mamelons, but through time, attrition, chewing, tearing, biting, all of that, oftentimes we lose those mamelons. Where the crown and the root come together, you're going to have the CEJ, which is number 3 right there. Most incisors are going to have a mesial incisal angle that is sharper or more of a right angle, and then the distal incisal angle is going to be more rounded. This will help you be able to tell the difference between right and left, so that is one thing that will help me know that this is tooth number 26 rather than tooth number 23. We can flip it around, look on the lingual side. The lingual side has a lot of the same anatomy. It is mandibular, so the mandibular teeth, their anatomy is going to be less prominent. The lingual side of the tooth will be more smooth, but we have the incisal edge bordering this side of the tooth right here. The elevation is going to be the mesial marginal ridge. Opposite side would be the distal marginal ridge. Number 2 is this round raised area, which is the cingulum, and the shallow fossa would be right here, and we would call that the lingual fossa. We can see the one single root right here. If we turn it to the mesial, the crest of curvature, or the CEJ right here has more of a curve on the mesial side of the tooth versus the distal side. When viewing the tooth from the mesial or the distal, this is where we're going to see the height of contour. So basically, the height of contour is the widest portion of the crown. So if we would divide this crown into thirds, we'd have the incisal third, the middle third, and the cervical third. The widest portion of this tooth is in the cervical third, right? So it's much wider from here to here versus from here to here. Sorry about that. This is where it's wider versus up here. So that's where we can see the height of contour. If we turn it to the distal, it's going to be the same thing. The height of contour would be in the cervical third. If we look at it from the facial, or if we look at it from the lingual, trying to find the greatest width, we would call that the contax versus the height of contour. So once again, if we separated this tooth into thirds, incisal, middle, and cervical, the widest portion of this tooth is going to be in the incisal third. So the contax would be in the incisal third on the mesial and incisal third on the distal. The majority of incisors are generally always going to be single rooted, having one pulp cavity inside. Sometimes they will have an accessory root canal, but generally the pulp cavity is just going to be 1 per root. They're going to vary in the number of pulp horns that they have, depending on what tooth they are. Looking at the root, we can see, running longitudinally down the root. This is going to be the longitudinal groove. So which side of that is? That's the distal. So the distal longitudinal groove would be running right through here. This is the apex. Let me look to see if there's anything else that I could kind of point out to you. If the tooth has imbrication lines, which would be placed on like the maxillary central incisor, those would be ridges that are formed right through here, and they run mesial distally in the cervical third of the tooth, and then in between those grooves is what we call pericymata. I think that's just about it. don't see really anything else. What I recommend for each of these teeth is to learn the basic anatomy, just like I pointed out, and then pick something special about each tooth group that makes it unique. So what's special about number 8 and 9? What's special about the max laterals? What's the difference between a max lateral and a mandibular lateral? Just find those key points, and that will definitely help you with your tooth ID.